What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to take a look at the new gameplay for Crimson Desert. Of course, this is the game for IGN First for October, so we're going to see a lot more of this, maybe some interviews and kind of, behind-the-scenes type stuff. Normally, IGN kind of splits it. We get some brand new gameplay, and then we get other stuff, as the month goes. So they started off, pretty good with 12 minutes of gameplay. It's what you guys are going to be watching, as I talk about it. And honestly, what it really becomes nowadays is what can you take away from it now that you whether it's an improvement or whether it's a step back from something that we got last time. We have seen so much of this game, honestly, in unusual amounts from this game, and usually high amount, versus so many other games. This game has never really been shy to just show itself off. It's going to come with some flaws. This game has a lot packed in it, and I think, obviously, again, there's going to be some things that kind of stand out in a positive and negative way when you do that, and when you show so much gameplay. So, first thing I want to say, though, in terms of an improvement from last time, right? We saw it a couple months ago, and it honestly looked to me like it took steps backwards from like the late spring into the summer. But this one, I would say, overwhelmingly has been more positive. The one big positive, kind of right away, is the visuals. I think that even, when you're talking to generals, you're talking to people, and you kind of see like the battle happening, next to you or in front of you. It depends on which gameplay you look at, over the past like 3 years, but, it can look better or worse. And I think in this one, it did look quite good. I would also say the voice acting, now that's, it could be something that's literally been improved. It could also just be different people. That person that you're talking to that kind of gives you the mission, debrief. I really like that acting. I thought that was very strong. But last time, I didn't like the acting, and it's, okay, is it just better acting? Or did they, kind of go back to the drawing board and maybe re-record some lines? Or is it just simply, well, this is a different person, which means it's a different voice actor? But they did do a very good job. Another positive is just, I would say, the openness of how you handle a situation. So you can see it kind of right in the beginning. The quest is to really just kill that commander at the end. Now, it really seems like however you want to do it, you can do it. The amount of spinning that is done and kind of like this grapple hook type situation, which, correct me if I'm wrong, have we ever seen it done like this before? Definitely the gliding type thing, but that like triple jump in the air seems new to me. And then also like attaching the hook and swinging yourself sideways, then almost doing like a Sonic like spin. I really like that. I'm not saying it as a negative. I think it's really, really cool. It's just I don't remember really seeing a lot of that type of traversal in the past. So I like how it looks. I guess feel is something that we don't know, but it looks fun. And then I would say just that openness, again, to be able to handle it however. Like, they did spend a little bit of time, on the ground fighting with the forces, and that was also kind of hit or miss in that situation. You had people on horses that weren't reacting all that well. They seemed very, very difficult to actually hit, so there's maybe a little bit more of the negative. But it did look fun, and it looked like something you can participate in or not, because after that was over, you're, as the main character, you just freaking bailed, right? You just you went basically you went like a roundabout way, and you found a hole in the wall, to get in. So I do like that idea, because again, the base quest is simply like get to that guy and take him out. It doesn't really matter how you get to that guy; it just matters that you get there. They took the somewhat stealthy approach, like they helped their forces on the ground, and then they found that hole in the wall and went up way too many stairs, and then found a key, and then went through, and then there it is. There's the boss fight. And then in terms of the boss fight, some good and some bad. I would say I really like the summoning thing. It's not new. We have probably faced hundreds of villains each that can summon something to kind of add that second or third attack. With that being said, I actually think that whatever that ghostly type villain thing with the shield, I actually think that's insanely cool. So I really like that. I also like that taking him out at the very end, you get that ability, and then they do that nice little thing at the end just to show you that now that ability is yours. So I like that a lot. I also like how like the enemies in the peripheral are kind of, their body bystanders, but they're also not. Like in the beginning of that fight, you get hit into them and they react. Like it's not this invisible wall where the enemies are kind of like watching you from behind it, where you can't interact with them, they can't interact with you. Overwhelmingly, that's positive. The one negative I would say from just that, it seems like some of them started to shoot you as the character towards like the middle and end of that boss fight. And it does go, I'd say, to the main weakness. So this is becoming a concern. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments. But last time we saw this gameplay, okay, what seemed to have happened is they put a very bad person in charge of capturing it, right? If you can go back over the summer, and whoever was playing got hit way too many times, right? I think it was some, like, it had pillars. It was some, like, room that had pillars on it. You were fighting, I think, a knight. And in that fight, you took, like, if you didn't have 12 health packets, you would have died like 12 times, you know? So that was an issue there. And I will say it's kind of an issue again. And it's starting to make me think of, I mean, either two things. One, these are not the greatest people that are playing the game. But number two, we've seen it now 2 different times. And is this IGN doing it? Is this is this the developers doing it? Because I would say the one major weakness that we could be running into here is there might just be too much going on. And I mean, you can look at the game, look at the world, look at all, and you could say, well, there kind of is a lot going on, right? And it's kind of a pro and a con. In all these fights, though, like it's beginning to seem like either they're, again, like bad people that are capturing it, or there's maybe too much happening because this person was getting hit by what seemed to be blockable attacks, and it looked like they were blocking, and then the attacks still hit them for damage. Or, like I said, like those enemies around you, they were there kind of just to watch at first, but then it seemed like a couple of them were shooting at you. So you're dealing with this enemy, then it's got like the ghostly presence, and there's like attacks coming from like your upper left and right diagonal, right? Because they're kind of like shooting plasma type things. And then you also have these other people shooting, you know, kind of like these big musket type things shooting you. So I just kind of want an answer to that, you know? Is it the people playing it, or is it the difficulty? And maybe not even difficulty, is it the amount of things happening? Because that can be overkill, you know, and this is twice now. If you watch that, you know, obviously I'm playing it as I'm talking about it, this person takes a lot of damage against that boss. And again, like if it was just this once, it would be one thing. It's happened several times now, sometimes open world battles and sometimes just literal bosses. It seems like you need a lot of like replenishing health in order to survive these things, and I don't know if that's a difficulty, the person capturing it, or it's too much happening and you kind of need to tone down how many attacks these enemies can throw at you. So that would be the one kind of overwhelming negative that's really started to take place, you know, in the last like 3 to 5 months. But beyond that, I will say overall this was a positive. I think it showed a little bit more kind of openness to handle things the way you wanted. It kind of looked more clean in terms of visuals. The acting was better. The fighting was solid, and even the fighting, the boss, like it was solid, definitely. And the ability to get abilities from bosses, that's really cool too. It's just, you know, I'm starting to really look at these too much on the screen at once type things and starting to wonder if that's just like a massive problem kind of throughout the entire game. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.